I'd like to call this meeting of the West Haymarket JPA for February 25th to order. To my left is Councilwoman Tammy Ward, and to my right is Regent Tim Clare. I am Mayor Lyrian Gaylor-Baird, and we are delighted to be here with you today. This is a public meeting subject to the State Open Meetings Act, a copy of which is posted in the back of the chamber. The order of the business is that our clerk will read each item on the agenda, and then staff will give a brief presentation. Following the staff presentation, we'll take public comment as needed and desired. And if each speaker could please state their name and address for the record, and note that testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker, we'd be grateful. And with that, Casey, please call the first item.
The first item is number 3 on the agenda, approval of the minutes from the JPA meeting held January 28th, 2021.
Second.
Moved by Claire, seconded by Ward. Any discussion or proposed revisions of the minutes? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Ward,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Gaylor-Baird.
Yes.
Item carried 3-0. Next item 4, approval of January 2021 payment register and review of the January 2021 expenditure reports.
Mayor, members of the board, thank you very much for taking a few minutes to meet with us today. Pretty short on the payment agenda items. There's just a few to call to your attention. $5,000 payment for fiscal year for the janitorial and minor maintenance for our Amtrak. Previously, you may recall that was paid out monthly, and we're just paying it out annually now. $19,000 to the treasurer for our special assessment on the 8 JPA properties. This is standard. Our normal payment to the District Energy Corporation of $214,310.50. And then our JPA parking garage maintenance cost is $72,135.43. And then $27,353.04 for basic maintenance and repair for our facility. Really very small expenditure report.
Okay.
Last time I was here, we discussed looking at projections for occupation taxes as well. Our team did create a graph. I'm going to press the button. Okay, hold this up right quick. The financial team has created 3 scenarios. This will come up here in just a second. You see it? Okay, yep. So the dark green line on the left side of the graph, and this will be provided in your packet as well, is our actual revenue that we've taken in on occupation taxes for the area. At its peak in 2019, we were projecting out to 2033 in revenue levels. So the project had been very successful. The blue line you see here in the middle, that's the original projection. And then there are 3 scenarios that I'd like to talk to you about. One scenario, the bottom lighter green line, is the worst case scenario that we could come up with. The worst case scenario is that we don't come back to full occupancy of the arena and the Haymarket Rail Yard until 2024. So that bakes into account vaccinations and then possibly having another round or another variant, really pushing it out there. In that case, we project then we would go back to the standard 2% of gross annually for our occupation taxes. And in that scenario, the JPA fund is still whole. So we will be able to pay our bills. Scenario number 2, the purple line, basically looks at August of this year coming back to full occupancy, and then our standard 2% growth. You will see that maintains just below the original projection. Again, still paying all of our bills. And then finally, you have scenario number 3, the green line, or excuse me, the blue line here that you see go up significantly. This is what we think is probably closer to what's actually going to happen. This starts off in August of this year, and then we look at a little bit higher growth, 3.41%. So 1.41% more growth in occupation taxes than what we originally projected. This is less than what we have seen over the last 8 years, but we still think it's good. As you'll see, that number is significantly higher in revenue. All 3 of these scenarios, the JPA is whole. We will be able to pay our bills. But we wanted to provide those to you as part of this discussion.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for David? Okay, great.
Thank you.
At this time, we'd be happy to take public comment if anyone would like to come forward and speak.
What are you on? Are you on the payment registers? Oh, okay. Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs, and what were you going over? What you think you're going to get in the, which isn't in here, which you think you're going to get for the taxes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what's that based on?
We looked at 3 scenarios, not coming back until 2024, and then maintaining the 2% occupancy tax growth. Coming back this year, 2% occupancy tax growth, which is the exact same as we would have been on our normal projection. And then scenario 3 is seeing a 3.41% growth, which is less than what we've actually seen in the past.
Less than what?
What the actual growth of the occupation tax has been in the
Was.
past. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, going back to the payment registers, the District Energy Corp. still seems to be about the same. Do you pay that and then you're reimbursed by the other businesses?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how's that going? How many do you have on there now?
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I'll get you that information.
Huh?
I'll get you that information. I don't have the number at hand. I don't have the number at hand.
Okay.
I will get you that information.
Okay. Any other issues that came up unknown or unexpected?
No, ma'am.
No?
No.
Okay. Have you gone over the expenditure reports yet? Or is
Yes.
that, you have? Okay.
It's pretty small.
So at this time, you have 5 million in occupation taxes in the bank?
4.7. Well, that's what we collected. In the bank, yes, I believe you're correct, 5 million.
And the arena is now a little over 500,000 in the red.
That's correct.
Okay, what's looking there? Have they cut any expenses?
I believe they've cut all the expenses that they can at the moment.
Did you take that down? I can't hear you.
They have cut all the expenses that they can at the moment.
Okay, which ones?
I would ask Tom Lorenz to come up if he would like
Oh,
to.
okay.
And he can talk about specific things they have done.
Tom Lorenz, General Manager of Pinnacle Mac Arena. When you go into the time like this, you start to look at multiple things. You try to cut staffing as much as possible, so use furloughs for staffing. If you have full-time hourly people, you cut the hours, the number of days that they can work, so they have less hours to make. We've had a person leave our staff, and so you work with staffing to begin with. Then you cut down on utilities, and so our utility bill is significantly less than what it was before by shutting down refrigeration and closing all of that. We're certainly not buying any food or beverage items right now other than what we're using for the vaccination clinics, and so that expense is lowered significantly. Repairs, we did a lot of that early on during the pandemic, and so there's very few repairs right now. There still are a few things that happen, but that number has gone down significantly.
1 minute.
And so there are multiple ways of cutting expenses, and I think the staff has done a very good job.
And that's in the variance?
There probably will be variances on the difference from maybe from month to month, and then there's probably from a year-long variance also.
Okay, and have you furloughed any staff?
We have.
You have?
Yes,
Okay. Do they have a promise to come back again?
they do right now because we're very busy.
Okay.
So what you do is you furlough either for a couple of weeks, for a month, for a longer time. We've had all the different scenarios depending on what their particular skill set is.
Okay. And, let's see, insurance stays the same,
Yes.
and utilities are still,
5 minutes.
okay.
All right.
But remember, in utilities, you have demand charges, so you can save as much as you want, but you still have certain levels of demand charge that are there.
Yeah, right. So what has the, having the COVID people there?
I think it's a great thing for the city. It's wonderful to be able to be an area where
You
people can
gotten any
get,
money for that?
we do get expenses for the staffing that we bring in and for the materials that we use for sanitization and all those type of things.
Where does that show in the budget? Just in the general
Yeah.
income?
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
thanks.
Are there any other questions from the board? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion on the payment register.
So, second?
Moved by Claire, second by Ward. Please call the roll.
Ward,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird.
Yes.
Next item, item 5, WH 21-3, resolution to approve 2 memorandums of understanding between the West Haymarket JPA and Project Control of Texas and Alfred Benish and Company for construction management services for terms through August 31st, 2021, with combined costs not to exceed $60,000.
Good afternoon, Chris Connolly, Chief Assistant City Attorney. Project Control has been managing projects for the JPA for a number of years. Their contract was coming up at the end of 2020, and we looked at the options for going forward, and it was determined that what we should do is use perhaps 2 project managers to manage projects that need to be done in the JPA area. This is a recommendation from purchasing, and so what we've done is we've worked out an arrangement whereby Project Control, along with the Alfred Benish Company, will be sort of co-project managers, if you will, going forward. And so each of them has submitted an agreement for approval today, these MOUs, and they will. There's a process for determining who will manage each project, and I'll get into that in just a minute. The dollar amount of $60,000 was arrived at because finance determined that it looks like between now and the end of this fiscal year, which is what we're going to try and do with these contracts now, we're going to go on a fiscal year basis rather than a calendar year basis, is $60,000 they thought was an appropriate amount based on the last year of Project Control's contract. They had about an $80,000 year contract, thought that $60,000 would have been appropriate for going now through the end of August this year. In talking with Project Control, they felt like that was an appropriate number also for projects that would happen for the balance of this fiscal year, and so that's how that number was arrived at. Now, in terms of actually managing the projects, what we're proposing and is in the ordinance, or excuse me, in the resolution, is that a committee of 3 people be appointed to make decisions on projects that are not on a list of projects that was put together by Project Control. We are proposing that Project Control do manage those projects because they looked at them, came up with the idea for doing them, and these are all repairs and those kinds of things in the JPA area. And so we feel like we needed a process for determining who would do the projects that are not on that list. And rather than wait for us to come back to you each month, and since we don't have any single individual that can make those kinds of determinations, we suggested a committee. And that committee would be made up of Jennifer Brinkman, Bob Walla, and myself. And so, so that's what we're here to do. We have people from both companies here, I believe, and so if you're certainly welcome to ask them questions. But that's sort of the arrangement that we are proposing today and asking that you approve this resolution that approves both of the agreements with both companies.
Any questions?
Well, I appreciate, both companies worked on these projects. Both companies worked on the arena from day one, and I appreciate it. And I also want to just, without PC Sports, we would not be in this position today, because PC Sports did an amazing job in getting us across the finish line. So I just want to publicly thank them. I thought about this a lot and how I'm going to vote on this, and I hope it doesn't increase the cost because we're bringing another player in, because we got a duty to the taxpayers and to the city. So I hope it doesn't increase cost, but if that's what the city and they think would be the best way to handle it, I don't want to be an obstinate party to that.
Comments? Okay, thank you. At this time, if there's anyone who would like to speak on this item, we'd welcome public comment. All right, seeing none, I'd ask for a motion on the item.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ward, seconded by Claire. Any further discussion? I would just echo Regent Claire's gratitude to the folks who helped us build and put this arena in place. Never in our wildest dreams did we imagine it would be used for the purposes it is being used for at this very moment. There are hundreds and thousands, literally, of seniors from our community who are strolling through, getting their second dose of COVID-19 vaccine. The arena was meant to improve our quality of life, but now it's actually saving lives. So thank you for making that possible. Please call the roll.
Ward,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird.
Yes.
Motion carried 3-0. Next item 6, WH21-4, resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding between the West Haymarket JPA and the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department for purposes of administering COVID-19 vaccines at the Pinnacle Bank Arena.
Chris Connolly again, City Law Department. As was mentioned during the financial review, we've got a vaccination program going on at Pinnacle Bank Arena, and this has been a very good thing for everyone. However, we felt that it was important to have some kind of an agreement in place between the city through the health department and the JPA regarding certain responsibilities concerning the operation of the vaccination clinics. And so we've put together this MOU, which lays out some general duties for each of the parties. It'll be the responsibility of the health department to do vetting and credentialing of medical staff, and that's just one item. But it'll also be the responsibility of the JPA to maintain the building and do cleaning and provide tables and chairs and staff as needed to assist the operations as needed, including doing things such as parking and that kind of thing. So it's not a lease. We didn't want it to be a lease. We didn't feel like it needed to be that tight of an agreement, but we also wanted to lay out some of the general responsibilities for each of the parties. And so this would go for 8 months. It would call for the city through the health department to reimburse the JPA for additional out-of-pocket expenses above and beyond what it would take for the JPA to operate under the current situation. And so, and again, that was referenced as well. Tom Lorenz brought that up. And so, increased costs on disinfectant, increased costs on staffing, which is probably his biggest expense, but even things such as catering, if he does catering for the staff, which he has been doing, that would be reimbursed as well. And so, and I'm told that the health department is able to, does have funding available for those costs. So anyway, so that's what we're proposing, and if you have any questions.
Questions?
No, I would just, I want to pick up on what the mayor said. I think, again, we built this project to, and never in our wildest dreams do we think it would be used to help, vaccinate thousands and thousands of people and probably save some lives along the way too. So it's pretty outstanding. But I want to give a shout out to not only PC Sports but also to Tom and his team for doing this. I mean, what the difference that this is making in Lincoln is remarkable. And so thank you very, very much for all you're doing. And I've had people tell me, my mother, that the operation was just smooth and very well organized, and so I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just add my kudos as well. I volunteered a few weeks ago down at the arena when it was, I think, Mr. Connolly, you were down there that same day, Chris, and it was the first clinic for 80 and older, and I was trying to stay out of the way, but trying to help. And Tom, kudos to you and your staff and to the health department. It's a machine, and I thought I knew a little bit about logistics from some experience over the years, but until you witness that and try to help, again, just to add my kudos to, and with what the mayor and Regent Claire said, who knew we'd be using the arena for this, but thank goodness we have it. And again, it's just a great thing to be doing, and I appreciate your work on this, Mr. Connolly. It's important to have it in place as we move forward with our clinics, so thanks to everyone.
Would anyone else like to speak on this item?
Well, I was just going to say one more point, is I am very excited for it not to be used for this, and to be used for something else. Maybe the original purpose.
Yeah. Would anyone else like to come forward and speak on this item, item number 6?
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. It's real easy for administration to sit on their hill and say how wonderful things are and how they're going. But I will tell you, on the other side of the mountain, or at the bottom of the mountain, things are different. Going into JPA or PBA, that did run smoothly. I'll have to give them credit for that, and I've had feedback from other people about that. However, setting up appointments is a nightmare. First thing was they sent out email an hour before a person was supposed to appear. And there were 20 forms you were supposed to go over. That's hardly well planned. The next thing was on the second go around, the first go around, they told people to call them Monday morning. When you tell people to call Monday morning, everybody is going to call at the same time, and the phone crashed. And people had to go down there to get their appointments. Then the next thing on the follow-up, they missed people, or they moved people up a week or two early. And when they were asked about it, they said, well, we don't know what we're going to do about it. So now they're calling people out the day of to ask them to come down and have their shots. And this is for not the first shot, but the second shot. So they could have had a lot of help. They could have been more organized. Now, I don't know if the people at PBA arranged that or not, but you need to be aware that things did not go so wonderfully and smoothly as you would like to tell yourself. Why are you making an agreement now after it's been, half over or maybe more? I'm not sure.
Well, I think the answer is this came up very quickly. It was an idea that we didn't know when the vaccines would be coming in, so we took advantage of the time that we had, but it was going to be difficult to get this kind of an agreement done immediately.
Okay.
And so it was done as quickly as it can. But there will be plenty more vaccine clinics in the next several months, so.
Okay, do the city council have to, this have to go to the
No.
city council for approval? No?
Nope.
It's all taken care of then?
Correct.
Okay, and this is for the whole time then?
It goes for 8 months is the way it's done, and if we get to the end of 8 months and we feel like it needs to go longer, we can renew it.
Okay. And the health department is agreeable with this kind of thing?
Yes, the health director has already signed off on it.
Okay,
And the health department is really responsible for most of the operations. What PBA is doing and Tom's staff is helping them run their operation.
and it gave people some work that wouldn't
Gave them
have
some
worked
work.
otherwise?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I think in addition to this, it's also important to note that Tom and his team are also providing this during the day, so providing the vaccinations, but then cleaning it up so that we can play basketball there. And that's a tall order. And next week and the week after are going to be busy weeks as well. And so again, kudos to your team and to you for what you've done because of this basketball tournament. That's going to help out with the occupation tax because people are coming to town, staying in the hotels, and renting, buying food at our restaurants. So I'm very happy about that. I'm very pleased we were able to keep that, and all that plays together. So thank you very, very much.
And I would just add that, Ms. Kinsey, there were some issues because we do have so many members of our community who want the vaccine, and we've been working to improve the process, and we'll continue to work hard to make it as smooth as possible. And I want to thank David Young and his team at Information Services who have helped to automate many of the processes that were initially paper-based. We're excited about how each clinic gets a little bit better, a little bit faster. So thank you to your team, and also to the other city departments that are helping, whether that's LPD and Aging Partners. This is really a team effort across the city, across our different healthcare providers, our physicians. It's in fact, I was down there today and saw Dr. Rapp from the hospital, and he's on vacation this week, but he's volunteering at the clinic. So it's just an inspiring effort of so many people coming together to get this done and protect our community. And I'm glad you got your vaccine. With that, I'd entertain a motion on item 6.
Second?
Moved by Claire, seconded by Ward. Please call the roll.
Ward,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird.
Yes.
Motion carried 3-0. Next item, item 7, WH21-5, resolution to approve a marketing services agreement between the West Haymarket JPA and IMG College for marketing services and sponsorship rights at Pinnacle Bank Arena.
Chris Connolly, City Law again. Got some good financial news here. We have a new marketing agreement worked out with IMG, who's been our partner in the marketing of PBA really since almost the very beginning. And so what we've worked out is it's essentially an amendment and a restatement of the current agreement. And part of this gets into the lack of revenues that were being generated in this current year with the pandemic, and the parties saw this as an opportunity to be able to recapture some of those. And so it will be, it's essentially an 8-year extension of the current agreement. There will still be guaranteed payments of $1 million. There will be the recapture of the revenues that were due to be paid in this last year that weren't able to get paid. They'll be paid out over the course of 3 years. And in the meantime, the guaranteed payments will start to escalate. And we will also have the opportunity to make money off of the revenue splits that were in the original agreement. In other words, the first $1 million would be for the guarantee. Under the new arrangement, the next $550,000 would be for IMG, and then anything above $550,000 for the first 2 years would be split 50-50 between the two parties. From there, everything starts to escalate, so the numbers go up on both the guarantee side and the revenue split side. And so in terms of other most of the other terms and conditions are pretty much the same. We did some updating on some of the language, that kind of thing. If there's additional things that are added, such as a second ribbon board or a marquee that would ever be put outside, then they would have the opportunity to use those as well and get the contracts. So it'll be up to IMG to arrange the contract with the sponsors or the advertisers, and then they pay us the money that comes off of that. But they will have a team of 3 dedicated people that will be housed at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Tom will find some space for them in the building, and that's where they'll work from, and that'll help things out. We'll be able to have better communications with them. Tom will be right there to work with them on how different kinds of things can get done, and Tom can tell you all kinds of things about how he'll get involved with the advertising and the sponsors and trying to help them do their jobs as well. So we think this is a very good agreement. David Young did a great job with negotiating on this, so we have this here for you. If you have questions, we're going to ask. If not, we're going to ask for an approval. Oh, we also, I believe, and I don't know if we can get her on the line, but Sarah Davis from IMG, I believe, was going to try and Zoom in. I don't know if she wants to say anything, but she may be available for questions also.
Any questions from the board?
Let's see if David or Tom wanted to say anything about it.
Okay. Would David Young or Tom Lorenz like to come forward?
Thank you for a quick discussion. On the financial side, we've increased the value of the contract about $1 million on our side over the 8 years. I think it's a good commitment. They've been good partners, and I think that in this time right now, when you see marketing agreements failing across the country due to lack of attendance, this is a very good agreement for us. So, and the fact that we were able to increase it almost $1 million of guaranteed revenue to the city, I think, shows the partnership between the two agencies.
One great thing I get to tell you is I was going through some original documents on when we were putting this together, and one of the projections for the marketing agreement was thinking it would be somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 a year. This is a $1 million a year document, so we're very excited. IMG does a terrific job. IMG Learfield, the staff that they've assembled to work just with us is excellent. We do work very closely together, and it's been a great relationship, and we're really excited that we get to extend this now for 8 more years. It will be it'll be very helpful for the JPA.
Great. Thank you. Any further questions of staff? Okay.
I was just advised that Ms. Davis is not on Zoom. So.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone from the public like to testify on this item number 7?
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. There's no price on here, Chris.
When you mean no price, there are financial.
Yeah.
That's because we're not sure exactly what we are going to make off of it.
You're not sure what?
We don't have a final number as to how much money we will make off of this contract.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of it depends on how much advertising revenue is generated by IMG. So we have a schedule that's in the contract, but I mean, the contract is available.
We got a guarantee though, right?
Yeah, there's guaranteed amounts, but that's only part of it. Then the other part of it is if they generate enough money, then we get a split.
Bonus, yeah.
Right.
Okay. But you don't have a floor for a price here? Or are you just renewing what you had before?
Well, it was renegotiated, and we restated it and amended it. And in the long run, this is a better deal than the old one. But in terms of the, like I said, it starts out, I mean, for the next 8 years, we get at least $1 million as a guaranteed amount. Not any less than that. And it does go up after the third. First 2 years, it stays at $1 million, and then it goes up after that. So.
How long was the contract?
It's for 8 years.
What?
8 years.
8 years?
Right.
Okay. And you said basically it was the same thing, and they have the same arrangement where the JPA gets the benefit of that, or the money, and then it goes back to the, to PBA?
I believe that's correct. I believe the money does, it will flow into JPA, but I think it goes to the PBA budget eventually, yes.
Okay. Okay. So there's really no change then, but you can't do the finalizing? And they will,
Well, this is a final agreement,
is it?
but if you're asking me what's the maximum number we're going to make off of this, we don't know that yet.
Okay. And they were willing to do that?
Oh, yeah, this structure is the same structure we've had for the last 8 years,
Okay.
8 or 9 years, 8 years.
8.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's been 8 years since you started it?
correct,
Has it?
correct.
Okay. So that's 2003 then, huh?
No, 2013, and there was actually another contractor doing this before IMG, but then IMG took it over, and it went from there. And they carried out basically
Okay.
the terms of the original agreement.
And their duties are the same?
Duties are the same.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on this item? Okay.
Sarah just texted, she's unable to get on the Zoom, or at least be able to make it so she can talk, but she just wanted to say she supports this, she's excited to be a part of it, and again, they're a great partner, so, but she is in there listening, and you can wave at her.
Thank you. All right.
Well, I think it's really easy. I think it's really easy in when somebody doesn't fulfill a contract to fire them and get rid of them and never see them again, kick them to the curb. And I really appreciate. I'm a big loyalist, and there's not one person in the world that hasn't been impacted in some way, shape, or form by COVID. And so the ability to go back and willingness to go back and renegotiate. I'm a loyalist, and I really am glad we've got this contract in place. So thank you, David. Thank you, Tom. Chris, you too. You too.
Not me, just Chris.
Any further discussion? Okay. Would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ward, second by Claire. Please call the roll.
Ward,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird.
Yes.
Motion carried 3-0. The next meeting date will be held Thursday, March 25th, 2021 at 2:30 p.m. here in council chambers.
With that, this meeting will come to a close, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ward, second by Claire. Please call the roll.
Ward,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Gaylor Baird.
Yes. We are adjourned. Thank you.